Hi everyone, my name is Karen. This is my channel Rather Be Reading, and today I'm bringing to you my December TBR. So it's officially December, the last month of the year, the last chance to complete all of my goals and all of that. I am structuring my TBR a little bit differently this month, as I have done the last couple of months. I normally put a pretty heavy focus on books from my physical TBR, or at least I try to. This month I am actually focusing on library books. I want to read as many of my library books, basically everything I've had out pre-November. I want to hopefully get everything I had out pre-November read so that I can go into the new year with just like a much less books checked out. Would be really great. You know, so I can just go in with a bit of a fresh slate. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 library books here that I had out pre-November that I really want to get to. So the first one is Lady Helen and the Dark Days Pact by Alison Goodman. This is the second book in this trilogy, which follows a girl named Helen, who it's set in it's historical fiction set in the Victorian era, and she discovers basically that she has some kind of demon huntery type abilities, and it's all about that. And I really enjoyed the first book, so I'm looking forward to continuing on. This is a little bit of a chunkier one. It is just over 450 pages, so I've got that. I've got quite a few chunky ones on this library TBR. Because the next one I have is The Labyrinth of Spirits by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. This is the 4th and I believe final book in the Cemetery of Forgotten Books series, and this is really chunky. This is over 800 pages. Yeah, over 800 pages. But I really did enjoy the third book, although the third book was much shorter, so I'm looking forward to reading this. I really do love Carlos Ruiz Zafón's writing. He's got really great writing. I then have Gods of Guilt by Michael Connolly. This is the next book, technically in the Lincoln Lawyer series, or the Mickey Haller, not the Lincoln Lawyer, that was the first book, the Mickey Haller series, which is all connected in with the Harry Bosch series. This is technically a reread, because I read this when I originally read the Mickey Haller series, but I'm going to reread this for its context in the overall arc of the kind of world of Michael Connolly. I then have Far From the Tree by Robin Benway. This one I definitely have to get to because I need to read this one for one of my goals this year. This is a YA contemporary book about 3 teens who were all 2 were adopted and 1 was put into foster care, I believe, and they are now reconnecting in their late teens or early 20s, something like that, and it's about their story, and I've heard really positive things about this one. I then have North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell, one of my most anticipated classics. Don't really know what this is about, but I know it gets compared to Pride and Prejudice. This one is also chunky. It's over 500 pages, and I'm sure because it's a classic, it's going to be a bit of a dense read, but I'm hoping to get to this one as well. I then have A Million Worlds with You by Claudia Gray. This is the 3rd and final book in the Firebird trilogy, which I'm really excited to get to because I have been really enjoying this trilogy. It's a YA sci-fi trilogy basically about alternate universes and being able to move between alternate dimensions and finding out what kind of life you yourself are living in an alternate dimension. Very, very interesting. Next, we have one I'm very unsure about, which is Enticed by Jessica Shervington. This is the sequel to Embrace, the second book in this series, which I think is like a 5 or 6 book series. I didn't love the first one, but I wanted to give the second one a go. But I'm not convinced that I'm going to love this. So I could see this being a DNF, honestly, because it's a longer series. If this doesn't capture me and I don't find this like entertaining, then I probably won't push through it, but I am going to give it a go this month. And then the final one that I have on my TBR from the library this month is Exit Pursued by a Bear by E.K. Johnston. This is another one that definitely has to get read this month because it's another one that I need to read for one of my goals, because this one is a Shakespeare retelling. I believe it's a retelling of A Winter's Tale, the Winter's Tale, whichever that one is, or A Winter's Night. You probably know the one I'm talking about. And this one deals with rape. I believe it's about a girl who gets raped at cheerleader camp, and it's about her dealing with a pregnancy post that. And I really enjoy like rape fiction as a topic. So as we've mentioned a lot on this channel, so looking forward to getting to that one. So they're the library books. I do also have books off my physical, I guess my physical shelves, because these aren't all TBR books. So another one of my goals that I had set myself this year was to reread, I think it was 6 books. And I think, I haven't actually figured it out, but I'm pretty sure I have only reread 3 that count towards that goal. And then it was also drawn to my attention that I posted a top 5 Wednesday video of books that I most wanted to reread like ages ago, and my friend Mel mentioned it to me, and when I rewatched that video I was like, oh, I haven't read like any of those, and I reread one of those earlier this month, and so I wanted to make my rereads for the rest of the year focus on those ones from that video. So I have 3 left from that video, and they are Beautiful Disaster by Jamie Maguire. This is a new adult romance, which I read pre-booktube, and I know that this is very controversial kind of on booktube, because I think it was quite a popular romance for a while, and there were a few people who read it and came out and said that it was really, really problematic, and then it blew up as kind of this problematic toxic romance. And I was like, oh, I didn't like really notice it when I read it, because I read this like pre-booktube before seeing any like commentary on it. This is a book that actually went around like my group of friends, like in real life. We all read it, like my friend Emma read it, we all loved it. So I'm going to reread this with fresh eyes and see what I think of it now that I'm a little bit older. The next one I have is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. This is the first Gillian Flynn book that I ever read. I remember this pretty clearly, and I have seen the movie, but I do really enjoy this book. So I'm looking forward to rereading this and seeing what I think. I'm actually also excited to think, because Dark Places is definitely my least favorite, but I think about this one and Sharp Objects the most, and I originally thought this was my favorite, but then lately I've been thinking that maybe Sharp Objects is my favorite, so I kind of want to reread this and see whether I think that this one or Sharp Objects is my favorite. And then the last one that I have to reread is one of my favorite books of all time, and that is The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak. And I believe that this is a book that I read maybe in like my first month on BookTube, possibly. Like I said, one of my favorite books of all time. Really excited to, I haven't read this since I read it the first time, so really excited to revisit this and see if I love it as much as I did back then. So they're the 3 rereads from my shelves, but I do also want to get to at least 2 books off my physical TBR, because I need to be getting to those books. So the first one I have is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. This book has so much cat hair on it. This is a YA contemporary. I'm sure you've all heard of this. It is incredibly popular. It's about a girl who is going to college. She's a freshman in college, and I think it's about her dealing with like her anxiety and stuff as she's a freshman, because I think she has a twin sister, but they're kind of going down their own paths, and it's the first time, you know, she hasn't had a twin sister there to really, you know, tag along with and all of that. I think it's kind of deals with that. This is extremely popular. This is so many people's like favorite book, so I'm interested to finally get to this and see what I think of it. And then the other one that off my physical TBR that I'm hoping to get to is What We Saw by Aaron Hartzler. This is another rape fiction, I believe, because this one is about a girl who was at a party, and she got home fine, but I think it was a pretty like full-on party. Like there was a lot of drinking and stuff, and she herself was very drunk, and she does not clear on exactly what happened that night, but her friend who she was with has now accused several members of that party, I think of the basketball team or of a sporting team. Yeah, star basketball players. She's accused them of rape, and it's about that, and I think Katie trying to remember what happened that night. So really looking forward to getting to this one, because as we've mentioned, I really enjoy rape fiction and like looking at rape culture. So that's library books and kind of physical TBR kind of and rereads. Now to quickly touch on some ebooks that I'm hoping to get to this month. The first one that I have, so I have 2 Kindle backlist books. My first Kindle backlist book is actually a NetGalley one that I've had out for forever, which I've mentioned a bunch of times, which is A Thorn Among the Lilies by Michael Hybert. I didn't get to this because when I went to read it, I realized it was the 3rd in a series, and my library did have the other books, so I had been getting those out, and I have now read the first 2 books in that series, so I'm going to finally read this 3rd one so that I can finally review the NetGalley arc. It's a series set in small town Alabama, following kind of a detective You get a bit of her perspective, but mainly this perspective of her, I think in the first book he was like 11 and then he was 12, so he might be like 13 in this one, I'm not sure, of him, and just like mysteries kind of within their small town. My other Kindle backlist book that I'm hoping to get to this month is Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. This is a thriller that I believe it's about, Giles Dale, I believe it's about a woman who's in a coma, and she's aware, like she's in a coma, but she's aware of what's going on around her, and she thinks that her husband has something to do with why she's in a coma, and she's like listening, and I think you're trying to figure out what's going on, but it also says like in the synopsis that she lies, so you know that she's like an unreliable narrator. So I'm interested in that. Don't you two be fighting. I've got the 2 cats hanging around me right now, and they're probably going to start fighting, and then that'll cause issues. And then I also have 2 NetGalley arcs that I want to get to that I didn't get to last month. The first of those is What Happened That Night by Deanna Cameron. This is another thriller. I think this one is more YA, and we're following a girl whose sister is on trial for murder, which that's all I really know about that, but it sounds very interesting. And then I also have Mooncakes by Suzanne Walker and Wendy Zhu. Sorry if you can see cat hair flying around, like Giles is rubbing himself everywhere, and so cat hair is flying everywhere. Mooncakes by Suzanne Walker and Wendy Zhu. This is a graphic novel. I believe this is a queer story about a witch who falls in love with a werewolf, and I think they work in a bakery. It just sounds really cute and adorable. So I want to get that one read. And then finally, Giles. Finally, I want to touch on the audiobooks that I'm hoping to get to this month. I'm hoping to get through a bunch in the few weeks before we go on Christmas break. So I've got 4 here that I've already, like, I have checked out, so I'm hoping to get to. The first is The Innocent Wife by Amy Lloyd, which I am actually currently reading. I started this today. This is a thriller about a woman, so this woman from the UK, and she becomes obsessed with this like true crime case about a man who is in jail. He's been convicted of murdering a girl when he was like in his late teens or early 20s, and he's been in jail for that crime, but there's like a big movement online, like a lot of people don't think that he did it, and she becomes like obsessed with his case and starts communicating with him while he's in prison and forms a relationship with him, and he inevitably gets freed from prison. It's decided that he was wrongfully convicted, and he gets freed from prison, and they now have this relationship. She's like gone to America, given up her life in the UK, and then it's about her starting to think, is he as innocent as what she thought that he was? I'm enjoying it so far. I'm actually quite enjoying that. So I've got that one. I then also have Killing November by Adriana Mather. This is a YA thriller. I don't really know too much about this except that it appears to be set in an assassin school, dealing with a murder, like people are being murdered at an assassin school. How did that ruler even get up there? I must have put it there. I live alone, but I honestly have no idea how that got that there. But that was making Winnie want to play with it. I seriously have no idea how that got there. Anyway, moving on. So we had that one. And then we also have These Witches Don't Burn by Isabel Sterling, which I'm really excited to get to because this is a YA witch story. You guys know I love me some witches. This one is about a girl, and it's also queer as well, I believe, because it's about a girl who, I think she's got elemental magic. And she's got an ex-girlfriend, and she's dealing with the whole drama with her ex, but then some like dark magic starts to be evidence of dark magic being used in the town, and it's about the kind of mystery of that, but it's like queer and there's witches, and that just sounds delightful. And then the final audiobook that I'm hoping to get to this month is Someone We Know by Shari LaPena. I'm very excited to get to this one because I read And I Want to Guess by Shari LaPena, and it's one of my favorite thrillers. So I'm really excited to get to this one. I believe this one is her most recent release. And I'm kind of vague on the synopsis, which is good. That's how I like to go into my thrillers. It's got something to do with a teenage boy in like a town who has been breaking into people's houses, but like not to rob them. He's like going through their things and like their computers and like finding out secrets about their lives. And then someone in the town is murdered. And it's kind of about that story. That sounds delightfully creepy, and like I said, I really do enjoy Shari LaPena, or I have enjoyed her previous book, so I'm looking forward to reading that one and seeing what I think of it. So that's it, you guys. That is everything on my TBR. Quite a lot, but I am off work from the 20th. I finish up work on the 20th of December on the Friday, and then I don't go back to work until the 6th of January. So I have a really solid, like that whole end part of December, I'll be off work. So hopefully I can get through a ton of reading in that time. Also some Christmassy movies, of course, but I would also really like to get a lot of reading done to, you know, go out with a bang for the end of the year, and go. I always like to finish really strong in the year because I just feel like then I always flow into a really strong January, and it like gets me off to a good start for the next year. So I would love to chat with you guys in the comments down below if you've read any of these books, if you've got any thoughts, or what your guys' reading plans are for December. Are you trying to get through a lot to like finally? I've got, like I said, a bunch of different goals that I know I can achieve, but I just need to like buckle down and actually get the books read to meet the goals. So are you guys trying to scramble to meet goals? I would love to know. Please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you want to see more from my channel. That is all I have for this video today. Bye guys.